welcome to the premiere edition of Exploring Idaho. We hope this next half hour inspires you to do some exploring of your own, because as you will see, Idaho is brimming with opportunities you don't want to miss out on. You know, one of my favorite seasons in Idaho is springtime. It doesn't take long to realize people are looking for any excuse to get outdoors. And boy, have I got one for you. We met a man on the Salmon River who lives for this time of year, and he's itching to share it with the rest of Idaho because, as he says, not many people get to see what you're about to see. From the deep green of the ponderosa pines to the lime green grasses, the Salmon River comes alive this time of year.
I think that there are opportunities on the salmon in the springtime that you don't get any other time of year. One is, of course, the wildflowers. April is the time for wildflowers here. The canyon is green, and not just green. I suppose an artist might be able to describe that particular shade of green. The best I can do is to call it spring green. It's brilliant.
The spring rebirth brings colorful wildflowers, breathtaking waterfalls, and an abundance of wildlife. Mixed in with the obvious beauty of the canyon is what a lot of folks will travel across the state and around the world for. And for those who have joined river guide Wayne Johnson on his annual trek down this famous river, it brings adventure along with the solitude. Spring on the salmon is a well-kept secret.
Everybody forward. Good run. Hold your paddles. Nothing to it.
Springtime trips must be carefully planned between the cold weather and high water runoff. There is a narrow window of opportunity in April and early May. Then the water gets too high to safely run the river. But by mid-June, the most popular season on the salmon is in full swing.
The salmon in the springtime is so unknown to people. It is so unappreciated as a recreational activity that you really are alone out here. You really do have the river to yourself.
He says this is probably what the pioneers who came down this river 100 years ago saw: awe-inspiring scenery and a noticeable lack of people. Today, the scenery is just as awesome and the people just as scarce.
The scenic beauty, the peacefulness. I've lived in salmon, all my life, and I was just thinking, gee, many a person needs to do this more often. And I'd certainly encourage all the people of Idaho especially. This is a resource that's right here in our backyard, and we need to spend more time.
While the weather can be somewhat unpredictable, you won't hear many complaints. With the right clothes, a little weather is tolerable. Of course, a dip in the hot springs doesn't hurt either.
It feels beautiful. It's wonderful.
It's rough. This is really rough in here. This water is real nice.
This is fun.
The pace this time of year is pretty relaxed. When Wayne Johnson plans these trips, he makes sure there's enough time to take a few side trips to explore the history of the area. Jim Moore's mining camp is one of Johnson's favorite spots. Most of the buildings, put up in the late 1800s, are still here. In fact, a group of archaeologists is now working to restore this historic site.
He built all these cabins by himself, with the exception of the one to my right here, his home. He had help from another fellow for about 2 weeks. But all the other cabins here he built by himself, except that he had 2 horses to help him drag the logs.
This mining camp is a living piece of Idaho history. History that guides like Wayne Johnson keep alive by sharing it with their guests.
It's more than whitewater. It's a time machine trip for people to see and touch and feel and have a personal experience with our heritage. Paddle hard! Paddle hard! Very good. Okay, hold your paddles.
You're wondering if you're going to flip over and if you're hitting it right and if your guide's steering you right and if you're going to end up right side up, but it's always a thrill. It's fun.
I love going through those rapids, and no matter how cold it is, it doesn't matter because you're just having so much fun that it just doesn't matter. I like it up front. It's more fun. You get to see firsthand, and you're just right there.
Many spring trips end up in places like the China Bar Lodge. After a long day of rafting and sightseeing, a hot shower and warm bed are just the ticket. Throw in a late-night bonfire under the moonlit sky, and you've just wrapped up the perfect day. Paradise, found in the heart of Idaho's wilderness. Of course, summer is the most popular season on the salmon, and if you like warm weather and lots of sunshine, you should look into it right away. And of course, it's not too early to start planning a spring vacation on the salmon for next year.
Let's go down here. Let's go. Go. Let's go. Squirt. Let's turn around. Come on. You really need to go down there.
A new vacation craze is sweeping the West, and it's an interesting concept. You see, you spend a few days building and mending fences, chasing after stray cattle, and in general working until you are dog tired. And on top of all that, you pay someone to let you do it. Well, if you haven't figured it out already, I'm talking about a dude ranch vacation. And our own dude, David Mills, spent some time in the saddle. How was it?
Well, Dee, I think I figured out why they call it dog tired. It's because by the end of the day, you're panting like one. But honestly, it's a good kind of tired, the kind that a lot of folks are discovering. In fact, the real cowboys at the Rockingham Ranch are ready to sign on a few good buckaroos. Sunrise at the Rockingham Ranch. It's only 32 miles to the town of Weiser from here, but you'd swear you were days from anywhere. I guess that's part of the mystique of this place, but there's something else that makes the Rockingham Ranch unique. It's one of just a handful of Idaho dude ranches. Morning comes early at the ranch, a little too early for my taste. But if you're going to live the life of a cowboy, you might as well do it right.
The Dude Ranch experience is a lot of fun.
Here you go, Dave.
It's part of the Old West that is not experienced by many people anymore. And we're giving the public a chance to come really rough it. This is what the West was.
About the only thing that's changed is now people call this a vacation. Well, like on any good ranch, there are literally miles and miles of fence. And this time of year, after a long, hard winter, a lot of it's broken down. That's where I come in.
This is one of the things you can come out and experience is building corrals, digging post holes, fixing fence is all part of everyday ranch life.
Let it slide down.
Okay.
Slider. Piece of cake. And I thought this ranch stuff was going to be tough. Oh. So I guess the secret is to... This city kid is about to get a lesson in the fine art of post hole digging. And Rex and Charlie Moore are just the guys to show me how it's done. They grew up on this ranch.
Okay. That's it.
Harder. Harder. See, it's pretty solid.
It looks good, Dave. Now only 150 more to go.
Right towards the head of the animal.
I don't know. Maybe I'm better suited for the real cowboy stuff, like roping.
See, see the wrist action now? It's just like that.
Or maybe not, but hey, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Good. Good. Not bad for a beginner.
When it was finally time to ride, I had my choice of horses. There was Lightning, Thunder, Tornado, and the one I picked, Squirt. He's a trusty steed, been working cattle on this ranch for years. I didn't let on that this was my first time, although I think he might have sensed it. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
This is about as close as you can get to some of those stories of riding horses and being able to look out across the landscape and not see a house or a building or a telephone line.
Or bathroom or pop machine. This is tough.
What we want to offer to people is a chance during our spring and fall roundups to come out and experience it and ride in the mountains and gather the cattle, work the cattle.
And cattle gathering in these parts is easier said than done. This is rugged, unforgiving country. Kind of makes you wonder why the cattle would want to come here in the first place.
This is some fairly steep stuff here. You just really want to turn your horse downhill. If you're going to turn around, don't face your horse uphill when you turn around, because they can go over backwards on you if they get in a problem.
He would wait until we were halfway up the mountain to give me that little piece of information.
Let's go down here. Let's go. Go. Let's go. Squirt. Let's turn around. Come on. You really need to go down there. Let's go get him. Come on. Let's go. Let's go.
Good job. People pay you to do this.
You bet.
They pay you to work.
It's an interesting concept, I know. We've been paying people to do it for years and years as ranch hands, and we're giving people a chance to learn and really dig their hands into it, and they really enjoy themselves.
Well, after a day like that, you really appreciate coming back to a place like this.
At the end of the day, you're tired and you're bone tired. You realize that if you did this day in and day out, it would surely toughen you up and make you appreciate this kind of work and this kind of lifestyle.
Now that's the vacation of a lifetime, one you're not likely to forget very soon. In fact, your backside will probably remind you about it for the next several weeks.
I believe it, but I also understand those kinds of dude ranches are fairly new to Idaho.
They are new, but now there are a number of working ranches in our state offering those dude ranch vacations. I usually book the trips in the spring and the fall, so there's the cattle drives going on and lots of stuff to do.
I believe it. Dave, thank you very much, and we'll be right back. If you've ever felt like maybe you should have been born back in the good old days, back when the West was young, then we have good news for you. This summer, you'll be able to relive those pioneering days because a huge celebration of the Oregon Trail's 150th birthday is planned. Think about this. 500,000 people traveled west along the Oregon Trail, carving 580 miles of wagon ruts through Idaho. And along large sections of the old trail, you would swear that dust had just settled. To our modern eyes, this looks like a harmless, meandering river, and these are just gently rolling hills. But to a family getting ready to cross the Idaho leg of the Oregon Trail, these were dreaded obstacles. Thomas Fork with its steep bank and soft bottom, then the long and tedious climb up the big hill.
When I was a little kid, I could always imagine these wagons coming up over these hills. I could almost feel the spirit of them coming up here.
It was a spirit of determination. Maven Sparks calls it gumption. He knows about all there is to know about the Oregon Trail. Remember these steep banks? Maven says this was the inspiration for an early days toll bridge.
As I understand, they went and got two big logs and laid across, and they'd roll the wheels across on these two logs. and they charge $1 a wagon to cross it.
A lot of money in those days. But one of the few treats of the Oregon Trail was free and just ahead, Soda Springs. Here, immigrants could enjoy carbonated spring water that some said tasted like beer. But for the real thing, weary pioneers looked forward to a stop at the Fort Hall Trading Post. This replica near Pocatello gives you an idea of what it was like when thousands of immigrants sought rest and supplies. One of the amazing things about the Oregon Trail is its ability to feed your imagination. Spend a few minutes reading the names of immigrants at Register Rock. At this point, they'd traveled over 1,000 miles, covering just 20 miles on a good day. Lyle Woodbury owns his own Oregon Trail memories. The trail passes smack dab through his ranch near Burley. The axle grease that pinned this graffiti had staying power.
Williams, Siemens, July 5th, 1849.
This summer, Lyle will open his ranch to the public. You'll be able to see for yourself this bit of history that just keeps unfolding.
We were over here on this butte last week, and we found a stretch of the Oregon Trail.
As you can see, the Oregon Trail never gets old to the folks who live in these parts.
We're walking right where the wagons went. You can just imagine what it'd be like to bounce up over all these rocks with an iron-tired wagon and not know where you was going or what was ahead of you.
But this summer, people are going to try it again. This is Idaho's official sesquicentennial wagon. It will cross Idaho in a border-to-border trek across the old Pioneer Highway. Bud Allen has become an expert on the Oregon Trail. He lives near Three Island Crossing, considered the most dangerous river crossing for Oregon Trail pioneers. Bud says this official wagon is a beauty, equipped with a luxury option.
This is just typical country that those people had to come across, and it isn't smooth. This wagon has got springs on the seat, and a lot of them that come across probably wouldn't have had.
As a matter of fact, most people walked rather than put up with the constant jolt of a springless wagon.
This is a bolt that's used on an iron-tired wagon to help hold the rim onto the wooden wheel.
More evidence of the bumpy ride. Bert Silcock says you can find amazing artifacts along the trail just a few miles southeast of Boise. Take these old solder-top cans, for example. They're everywhere. The pioneers weren't worried about littering. Obviously, they had more important things on their minds, like getting to the Boise River.
As you come off of Bonneville Point, there's 6 or 7 different trails where they were coming off together as a kind of a company front because they were trying to get out of the dust, out of the wind, and get to the water.
Bert is the wagon master for this summer's sesquicentennial wagon train. You'll be able to see wagons heading over this hill for Boise toward the end of July. They're even inviting you to go along on this historic event. The entire trip will give modern-day Oregon trekkers just a taste of what it took to blaze the Western Trail 150 years ago, when looking out over the vast and rugged West was easy on the eyes, but hard on the body and soul.
I have a lot of feeling of admiration for these people that had gumption enough to come out here and do this.
How people ever had the fortitude to stand this trip, I'll never know.
You really should start planning now to take advantage of all of the activities that are planned around the 150th birthday for the Oregon Trail. Here are a couple of phone numbers to get you started. First, for information on the sesquicentennial wagon train that will travel through Idaho and Oregon this summer, call 1-503-223-6191. There are some spaces available for folks who want to walk or ride their horses alongside the wagons. And this is an important number for all the other information you'll want to gather about the Oregon Trail and the events that are planned. 1-800-635-7820. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Exploring Idaho. Now is the time to grab a pencil or a pen because we're going to show you some of the many events coming up in Idaho in the next couple of weeks. If you'd like more information on any of these events or on the places we visited in this edition of Exploring Idaho, call the Idaho Travel Council at 1-800-635-7820. Ask for the Exploring Idaho Field Notes. And there's no need to waste a minute if you've got the bug to get out of the house this weekend. This is the prime time to see the Bruneau Dunes State Park. The sand isn't too hot, and the wildflowers couldn't be prettier. When the sun comes over the dunes, nature's alarm clock sounds. Thousands of birds hail in the new day. Ducks swim through the mist to reach the first touch of a May Day sunrise. Get up early so you don't miss the show. That is a great place to take the family. We want to thank you for exploring Idaho with us today. Believe me, it's been our pleasure showing you just some of the amazing things there are to see in Idaho. We'll look forward to seeing you again next month.